Welcome back to the Wisdom of Warhammer channel, and today we're going to be talking about the Chief Libarian of the Blood Angels and the Lord of Death, Mephiston. In this video, we are going to learn how he is able to be humble, intelligent, and how he became clear-minded. We will begin on how Mephiston came to be the Space Marine he is now. Mephiston was Calistarius, and before that name he was Kali, a child of Baal. His family life was broken, with his mother dying at a young age and being abused by his father. This eventually awakened his psychic powers, and his life would truly begin, with an elderly man saving him from his father, and he taught Kali about the warp and his powers. So think of the old man as a father figure and a teacher for the boy. One day the old man said that the Blood Angels chapter would come for the young Kali, taking him to be a librarian, or put him on the black ships of the Sisters of Silence to be sacrificed to the Emperor of Mankind, Terra. That day came, and he was lucky to be chosen to prove himself in the proving grounds of the Blood Angels. He went through the trials near Angel's Fall. He was closely watched by the librarians of the chapter, due to his psychic powers. After the trials, he went into the 1-year slumber, as all Blood Angels do. He came out transformed from Kali the Baalite to Calistarius the Blood Angel. He trained the same as all neophytes, but was trained by Liberius to be the psychic artillery of his group. He meditated and did soul walks like other librarians learned to do. His personality at the time was like any other battle brother with him, enjoying the company of his brothers. He was vulnerable, and this is when he was Calistarius. Now he is the opposite. As Mephiston, instead of enjoying time with his brothers, he spends long hours in silent meditation and study. And instead of being vulnerable, he is silent and brooding. But even so, he is still listened to due to his knowledge as well as a lot of experience, and of course his position of power, both hierarchical and psychically. Going back to before he was the Lord of Death, he was a good space marine showing promise early on in the chapter. Even on one mission as a lexiconium, he went alongside the legendary first company of the Blood Angels to investigate the space hulk called the Sin of Damnation. Encountered a Horus Heresy Blood Angel, and the young lexiconium used his power to see what happened to the Blood Angel, but he didn't know that the Black Rage was activated, and I speculate that this moment helped push him into the Black Rage. But he found out what was on the Hulk, a gene stealer cult led by a gene stealer navigator hybrid, which proved to be a bit of a challenge, but they butchered it and the 40,000 cultists on the Hulk. A few years went by and Calistarius was fighting alongside his chapter during the Second War for Armageddon. Before he fell to the Black Rage, he was a strong and noble space marine, but sadly, the Black Rage does not care, and it hit him hard. He was taken out of the blue Liberius armor of the chapter and put into the abyss black armor of the Death Company. He was a part of the final assault on the Ecclesiarium building at Hades' Hive, but during the battle, he and his brothers were crushed by the falling building because Calistarius was alive and buried, while he fought the Black Rage for 7 days and 7 nights. He was able to crawl out of the rubble and find his way back, and during that time, he rejoined with his friend Raceless, and they both were able to get back to their chapter. Now as Mephiston, he became a beacon of hope for the chapter and the other sons of the angel, because he had conquered the Black Rage, and if he could do that, then they could have others conquered as well. He rose through the ranks of the Librarius, and ultimately became the Chief Libarian of the Blood Angels. But one thing that was dangerous about him was that the power that was growing in him. And he knew that it came from the Great Angel. But how can he control it? For centuries he searched for his answer for his power, but to no avail. thought his visions would lead him to an answer for the power he held, but he had to hold his hunt because he had to defend the planet of Baal and the moons against the greater demon of Korn, Kabunda, and his blood legions, while the other sons of the angel fought the tyrannid swarms of Leviathan. When the bloodthirster arrived, he tried to convert the librarians that were there to prevent the warp tear, and he offered them a place of infinite bloodshed and other false promises. The chief librarian and the other librarians were able to hold the demons off for a time. Thankfully, the demons helped massacre the Tyranids on Baal Prime, but they killed a chapter of renegades called the Knights of Blood, and then they were banished back to the warp. After that, the Indominus Crusade had arrived at Baal and helped the battered and broken Blood Angels and their successor chapters by Primarch Rabute Gilliman. The Ars Angelicum was rebuilt and fortified into a massive fortress planet, and a space station was built in orbit in the shape of an angel. The next plan of attack for the Blood Angels was to wipe out the remaining Tyranid forces in the Scar. The fleet that had Dante, Mephiston, Antros, and Raceless, and some other space marines and Imperial Guard. They arrived in a pocket of space due to one of the ships falling behind and getting invaded by an incursion of demons of Slanesh. It was here that Mephiston lost control to a point where the Blood Angels turned around him, turned to the Black Rage, which was dangerous. They destroyed the Keeper of Secrets that was leading the demons, but Mephiston was still causing damage to the ship and his brothers. He begged for Chapter Master Dante to kill him, but Dante knocked him out. And the librarians put him in a sarcophagus in the chemispheres, a psychic prison on Baal. Mephiston's soul was weavering through the warp, and the Red Council was debating on what to do with the Chief Libarian. And there was hope from a Mechanicus adept talking to Dante about the Rubicon Primaris. And they talked about Dante crossing it, but in one of the council meetings, Antros had the idea that Mephiston would be a good choice for crossing of the Rubicon. They did the procedure and it worked, but during it, Mephiston lashed out, killing some of his brothers and injuring others. Before he did that, he died and his soul was forced into the warp even further. And he encountered the two warring angels, the angels of light and the angels of dark, with both represented the blessings and flaws that the sons of Sanguinis have. Mephiston encountered his gene father's soul, Sanguinius. Mephiston was given a choice to die and let his brothers die, or become the embodiment of the dark angel and give his brothers time to find a way to deal with the Black Rage. Mephiston wanted rest, but he accepted the duty of being the embodiment of the Black Angel and became damned, but it gave hope for his brothers. Dante met with Mephiston, and they both talked about the times they had been on the brink of death, talking about seeing Sanguinius. Mephiston saying that the procedure was able to calm him and the power. But I think that his uncontrollable power was contained when he chose to become the embodiment of the Black Angel. And his physical power came from the new body and the organs he was implanted with. After that, Mephiston and Dante went to test the power that the Chief Libarian had against the Gene Stealer uprising. And the power was controlled and devastating. He was able to be calm instead of being overcome by the Black Rage like he usually does. After that, Mephiston still fights for the Imperium alongside Erasmus and Antros, as well as Dante, until the day he dies. Now, let's go over what lessons we can learn from this. And the first is that meditation is a big part of Mephiston. because he's able to keep the power controlled and allows him to think clearly when he's dealing with a problem. The definition of meditation is a practice that an individual does to focus the mind to a particular object, thought, or activity to increase attention to the particular thing that the person is focused on. This practice has been used for centuries by monks, warriors, kings, and even people who aren't those things. Here are some examples of well-known people who have used this strategy in practice. Thich Nhat Hanh, a Buddhist monk that created Plum Village. Miyamoto Musashi, a well-known ronin and the author of the Five Rings. And Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor who wrote in a journal which became Meditations. I have used this practice before, and it has helped me and the men listed above to make them who they are, and has helped me keep my mind closed off to distractions so I can focus on a problem. To start this practice, you can watch a short meditation video on YouTube and follow that. Just a 5-minute one will help. I do also suggest reading Meditations by Marcus Aurelius in the Book of Five Rings, because it has some lessons on strategy. The second thing that Mephiston can teach us is being humble. In the books, Mephiston is known to be cold and calculating and seems very arrogant, but is humbled by every experience. One example is when he and the Blood Angels met a group of guardsmen. He didn't boss them around. He calmly and nicely asked where his objective is. He also is humbled due to the warp, because time and time again he has been punished by the denizens of the warp. He has also grown from these encounters and doesn't see himself as above anyone, and he has learned not to have hubris when it comes to the warp and the powers he has. My first suggestion for being humble is to acknowledge your shortcomings and flaws, then strive to be a better version of yourself than you were before. This will take time to find out these things, but you will find them. Listen to other people without defending, debating, or judging. And the last thing to be more humble is to elevate others, because if people are in a good mood from your words of encouragement, then everything becomes a bit easier in your community and a little bit better. Be grateful, not boastful, and most of all, admit that you aren't the best at everything. The last thing we can learn, and this is an important one, it is to remember who you are and not become a different person. Ever since Mephiston was born from Calistarius, he has forgotten who he is and was because of what he has gone through during his rebirth on Hades' Hive. He told Raceless, his friend, to help him remember who he was because he doesn't want to let Calistarius go. Multiple times, Raceless has reminded Mephiston of who he is, and to not get rid of the man he once was, and to not forget that he is Calistarius, but named Mephiston now. Now, this is the most important one because I see people becoming who they are not, and it reminds me of a quote that everyone has heard at least once. Don't pretend to be someone you're not. And for example, this red pill and blue pill stuff. And yes, you can be on either side or agree with others and disagree with some, but you don't let these movements define who you are and become a person you did not envision. It's fine if you are on one side or the other, but don't let that define you, because in the end, it doesn't matter. It never has and never will. It matters what kind of person you are without politics and useless stuff we made up in society. One thing that matters is remembering who you are and still being yourself, but growing throughout the years and finding the stuff that matters in the community and in the world. Another thing I see a trend in culture, and it's called the villain arc. And this is the most stupid thing I've ever heard, because in reality, you're hurt and hurting other people is good. But to be honest, you're just a moron. That puts you in a place where it causes more damage to you and the people around you, and you will eventually lose yourself. Yes, life will suck and does suck sometimes, but respond in a reasonable way. That's how you become a better person and not cause more damage. My advice is to look deep at yourself and slowly find your way back to yourself. To do the first tip, meditation, because sitting down and looking at yourself to find what you truly believe is important. Second is to find hobbies that you like and can make something positive out of it. And it may help you find your way back to yourself before you lose sight of yourself. And last but not least, be kind, because there are enough rude people in this world. We don't need any more. The main message that I have learned from Sanguinis and his two sons is that even if it may seem hopeless, remember the dream for which you have in mind and make it reality, but don't forget the road to get there. That is what matters most and what makes or breaks you. Remember this quote from the great angel himself: visions may be lies and dreams may be false. The only choice is to march out and meet them. So go out and meet your dreams, and remember to never give up. Now we have come to the end of the video on Mephiston and the lessons we can learn from the Chief Libarian of the Blood Angels and the one who conquered the Black Rage. In the next video, we'll be discussing the Primarch of the Imperial Fist, Rogel Dorn, and two of his sons, just like how I did the Blood Angels and Sanguinius. They will be the same layout, but they have different things that we can learn from each and the purpose of Dorn and his sons. If you have enjoyed the video, hit the like button. And if you want to see more content, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification to be notified when the next video comes out. May Sanguinius smile upon you and have a good day. This is Wisdom of Warhammer, signing off.